News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Yeah, we have different music playing in the background today because, yes, it is Halloween. I am not in costume. I thought I would just come on being myself, or you could say I'm dressed up as a TV news host. But we're going to talk this morning about ghosts, if you will. And we'll give you a chance to join in the conversation. Either ask questions or share some of your possible experiences, if you've had any, with, ghosts or, paranormal phenomena, if you will. It's interesting because here in the state of Tennessee and some communities very close right around us here in Middle Tennessee are known supposedly for being, ghost gathering places. We're going to talk about that this morning with our guest. We're going to take your calls for Allen Sircy. Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, thank you for having me.
It's good to have you on. I'm not sure where to go with all this, but you are author of Southern Ghost Stories, Ghosts of Gallatin, which of course is just down the road from us here. And Gallatin, okay, so I was looking at the back here. I mean, Gallatin is known as the most haunted city in Tennessee?
It's high on the list.
I mean, is there an actual list of haunted cities?
It's hard to say who's the most haunted. It's up there with Murfreesboro and Franklin, and there's a lot of stuff in Nashville, too.
Okay, so when you say haunted city, okay, you mean ghosts?
Yes, sir.
Not everyone believes in them,
Yeah, I mean, I've heard ghosts, spirits, some say demons, it kind of is what it is.
Well, I'm just wondering, you think ghosts and people maybe, I'm afraid of, why do we assume if there are ghosts that they're going to be mean? If I come back after I pass away as a ghost, perhaps, I'm going to be one friendly buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bother or scare anyone. I'm going to be like Casper.
And most of the stories I hear, it's mischievous. They move things around, or you'll hear footsteps. Nothing's going to harm you unless, you're really mean to them, or if you're respectful to them, they'll respect you, from what I've gathered.
Okay. Well, there's all kinds of programs on paranormal explorers and things like this. I think you're in it for the fun of it. It's kind of just neat. And you've written this book, and you've done some research. What is it that put you onto this? What set you into, hey, I think I'll write a book about ghosts in Tennessee?
I mean, it's really two stories. I lived in a house by Traveler's Rest, which, back in the 1700s, it was Indian land.
All right.
And then John Overton moved in, and he built his home on top of an Indian mound, which is where they buried their dead.
Okay.
And I moved in 06, I believe, lived there for 10 years. When I first moved in, there's a trash can by the front door. It did move around from time to time. I wake up in the morning, it'd be over here or over here. It's kind of weird, but it didn't bother me. The TV turned itself off and on, lights would flicker occasionally. It's just kind of weird stuff.
Okay, just odd, and you couldn't explain it. It's not like you have a dog, maybe that's pushing the garbage can around, or a power surge that turns the lights on and off. I mean, there's always, skeptics are going to say there's explanations for all of this, but it didn't bother you. I mean, it was just kind of quirky.
Yeah, I had a friend told me he saw a woman in my bedroom standing in the corner looking at him. That was kind of strange.
Oh yeah.
I had a mirror that jumped off the wall and flew 8 feet down the hallway. That was kind of weird too. But weird things happen from time to time.
Okay, and so you just were intrigued by that, thought you'd look at, but by trade, you are
I'm a salesman.
Salesman.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like, some scientist or a ghost buster, if you will. Or
no PhD over here.
Something like that. But you start doing research, and what led you to Gallatin? I mean, you live in Antioch, but what ended up Gallatin being a focus for this book?
Well, my wife and I, my daughter went to Georgia Southern.
Okay.
So my wife and I would go to Savannah and we'd visit her. In Savannah, everything is haunted in Savannah.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful city. A lot
so
of
much
history there.
Old
Oh yeah, they had, in addition to Civil War battles, they had American Revolution battles. I mean, it's old history.
Yeah.
So everything's haunted down there, and we take ghost tours. And on a ghost tour, you pay $20, $30, and you go to a handful of places. So my wife, we got back home, and she said, there should be an app that takes you to every single place for $2. So I started thinking, I got the wheels turning. Well, that's a pretty good idea.
Well, an app that would what? Just show you every single place that's haunted in a community?
Like a ghost tour app that was kind of like a GPS-based app where you kind of go and
buy that app and it'll tell you where to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I made one for Savannah. I went home and crammed and learned how to code and did a lot of research on all the places in Savannah.
Did it sell?
It does really well.
Really?
I came back home, made one for Nashville, Louisville, Boston, Salem, got one for St. Augustine, about to launch in New Orleans.
There was no app out there like that? This is an app for locating haunted locations.
Yes, sir.
Clever. What's it called?
Nashville Ghost Map is the one for Nashville.
Okay, or Boston Ghost Map or something.
Yes, Savannah, Salem, New Orleans. There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, good for you.
But while I was researching Nashville, I started poking around in Murfreesboro, Hendersonville, Franklin, and Gallatin. And Gallatin really intrigued me because once you learn the history there, during the Civil War, they were occupied by the Union.
Okay.
And there was a guy named Eleazar Payne. He was the general for the Union Army. And there were over 100 hangings on the square where he, if you were a Confederate sympathizer or you were related to him or just didn't like the way you looked at him, he could hang you. I found instances of him dragging folks out of their house and shooting them. He was just a terrible, terrible guy.
Yeah.
And you can't really find out a whole lot about what he did here because we were the enemy.
Yeah.
When he went to Kentucky and started doing the same thing, he got in trouble up there because Kentucky was in the Union. So he actually got in a lot of trouble for the stuff he did in Kentucky. He got brought up on charges, and he was friends with Lincoln, so they gave him a slap on the wrist. And the charge he was convicted for was cursing in front of a female.
Oh, jeez.
But everything else is swept under the rug.
Okay.
But in addition to the Civil War stuff in Gallatin, there were all these fires on North Water, Main Street, and the Public Square. Well, North Water got hit in 1869. It pretty much burned the whole street to the ground. And you got to think back then, there were no fire codes. Everything was made from wood. So everybody's got a candle or a stove in their home, and one little spark
it just spreads.
Can burn the whole street down.
Right. So you're saying all these things, I mean, the fires and all the killings by this general produced spirits from the victims?
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
1873, cholera came to town, got in the drinking water,
all right.
killed 1 in 15 people.
All right.
So like in this probably 30-year time period, all these bad, terrible things happened in this small little town. It's really weird and quirky, and that's what kind of drew me in.
Now, but is that something, though, that you think then fostered the fact that there are more ghosts there because they went through these horrible times?
Possibly. I don't know. It's just there's a lot of death there in that small little town. And I got digging up there working on the app, and literally every building on North Water, somebody had a story for me.
Yeah.
I mean, more than people had the same story where they heard things or saw things or something was moving around at night.
Okay, now you've got this, and we're going to get into some of your stories, and I'd like to hear from some of our viewers. We've got some calls. We'll get to Ann in here in just a moment. There are some that have gotten more publicity, like the Bell Witch, stuff like that, and some of them that are a little more scary or whatever. I mean, how do you view the paranormal, which I assume you believe in, I guess?
I've never seen a ghost or an apparition, but I've seen a lot of weird things, and I've heard weird things.
Yeah, you've got a recording of one. I'm not sure it would actually play on the microphone here because it's hard to hear, but you were interviewing someone.
You mean try to play it?
Well, if you want. I mean, it's hard. What we'll do is you go ahead, and I'm going to hold this mic right near this, and maybe the viewers will be able to first set it up before you play it, what this was.
I was at Rosemont,
which is a historic
house in Gallatin, trying to do some research for the app. And I'm talking to the caretaker of the home, and we find out we're distant cousins. His mother has my last name, so we're just making small talk. And I had a little boy in March, and I'm telling him about my little boy and how I'm the last of my grandfather's name. So through my little boy, the family name will carry on.
Okay.
And as I'm telling him the story, I go back a couple nights later and listen to this.
So you were recording this because you were going to write from it, and you were going to transcribe it then.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you go back home, and you've got the recording.
A couple nights later, and I'll play it.
Okay, so you're transcribing, just so you can listen. We can play it more than this. It's hard to hear. There's some birds tweeting, you hear them talk, and then what is it that you tell them so they can listen for it? You'll hear a woman's voice saying...
At the very end, she goes, "Oh, good."
Oh, good. And then we'll explain why she's saying this, but there's no woman in this room. It's you and this guy.
My grandfather, he's 84, and he was the baby. He was the last of the Sirsys. Okay. And I'm the last on his side, and I just had a little boy a month ago, so the name will live on, to my little boy. Good. My violence.
Right there. You probably missed it, but you just hear it go, "Oh, good," kind of like that. So you're at home transcribing, and you're like, what the heck is this? There was no woman in here. I hear someone saying, "Oh, good." So explain to us who you think that was and why she was saying, "Oh, good."
Well, when that was recorded, it was just me and the caretaker on the front steps of Rosemont, and I played that back, and I texted the recording to the caretaker, and he texted me back immediately and said it's Catherine Guild, the judge's wife.
The judge's wife, who's been dead for
150 years. Yeah.
And she is, maybe her spirit or ghost is in there, and so she was listening to you talk about your son.
Yeah.
And so why is she saying, "Oh, good"?
I mean, back in the 19th century, if you had a little boy, that was a big deal. That's the family name carrying on. That's another hand in the field. That was a big deal having a little boy.
So she's kind of saying, "Oh, good for you."
Yeah.
In other words.
Yeah.
And so when he texted back. So apparently they're familiar with her in that home. He just said, oh yeah, we hear her every once in a while. Or we see her
There's a picture of her that someone got during the eclipse where they take a picture of a group, and there's an old lady standing behind this lady who wasn't there. They've got pictures of her, and she's been spotted on the property.
Quirky as can be. I don't know. Yeah. All right. What do you think? We're going to take a break. I think that's great that you have an audio recording of a maybe ghost saying, oh, good, which, again, she was nice. Look, the number is 737-7587. If you'd like to share your ghost story, we'd love to hear from you. And then we're going to have you share maybe a few more from your book.
All right.
The ones that you think are really interesting.
Okay.
I think they all are. But we'll take a break. Be back with more on this Halloween right after this.